All right, folks, we are up and running. What's going on? This is Coach Marcus. We are live at lunch on Pro Fan Talk. Hope everything is well with you on this Wednesday rainy morning in South Jersey. We kicking it at lunchtime. We're going to go for a little bit. I promise you, you will have plenty of time to eat your lunch, relax for a second, wash your hands, and clock back in on time. But we got a lot to go over today. Oh my God, all of this stuff that's going on with Covey. It has been it has been crazy. I've never seen anything quite like this before. Because it's been like lately, a lot of stories coming out. A lot of people got a lot of things to say about Jalen Hurts in particular, with the way the season ended with the Eagles, and everybody's got takes on why he did what he did. Everything's changing after the money. Some people are making good points. Some of the stuff is common sense stuff, and some of the stuff is like it doesn't make sense. But in this particular case, there was an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer where somebody was supposed to have said that Britton Covey basically described Jalen Hurts as unapproachable. They like to use those adjectives when they're talking about Jalen Hurts. He's stoic. And now after he got his contract, he's unapproachable. A lot of different things. Unavailable, quiet, and everybody knows that Jalen Hurts is very measured. He is quiet. That's his personality. He is not the stereotypical rah-rah guy. If you've ever been in the locker room, regardless of sports, you got guys on both ends of the spectrum. You got guys that are very loud and boisterous, somebody like a Brandon Graham. And then on the flip side of that, you got somebody like Jalen Hurts or Hassan Reddick. They don't really say much. They do all they talking on the field. So Jalen Hurts goes in that latter group where that's just not his personality. So for people that say that the money changed his personality, like, nah, no, it didn't. Money only accents what you already are. That's it. If you a loudmouth and you got money, you will be an even louder mouth. If you quiet and reserved, the same rules are going to apply. If you generous, you'll be even more generous. If you stingy, you'll be even more stingy. It just accents what your personality is. So if Jalen being the reserved and measured type, which is not a bad thing, and now everybody's saying that he's unapproachable and he should do a better job doing this, that, and the other. And it's like, man, first of all, how do you know? How do you know? Then the story comes out about Britton Covey saying he's unapproachable and everything like that, and everybody jumps on that. And let me be honest with you, I kind of jumped on that, and I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right. And then, this morning, now this was my Twitter post this morning, and my comment was, if you scared to approach somebody, that sounds like a you problem. You shouldn't have any problem, talking to one of your teammates and stuff like that. And there's a dynamic that goes to that most people miss. Sometimes you perceive that somebody could be bigger than you or things like that. I'll use myself as an example. I remember my rookie year with the Eagles, my first day at practice, I'm tossing, warming up with Randall Cunningham, somebody I done seen on TV, somebody I done seen on Madden. When ESPN first started, he was on the highlights and all of that kind of stuff. I'm standing with this dude toe to toe, and we warming up. So it's a perceived notion. And then when you get past that, that is a mental hurdle that all rookies go through. All rookies go through. That is a mental deal where it's even now in today's NFL and sports in general, it's a bigger deal. It's a bigger mental hurdle because there's so much media out there. So everybody is larger than life. Back when I played the The outlets were minimal. So everybody's, I guess, perspective of these stars was based on a few different sources. Now, you can see what people's going on, with in their professional life, sports life, personal life, all of that kind of stuff, because everybody's putting it on TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or live streaming, whatever it is they're doing. So when I posted my tweet, not long after that, Britton Covey puts a response. I don't truly get this narrative. Jalen's authenticity is what makes him a great leader. He'll eat lunch with the lowest ranking guys on the team, like myself. He is a great friend and teammate. That's from Britton Covey's Twitter. That was about 5 minutes after I made my post. So immediately I went up and I was like, I've told you before, journalists are guessing. Players will not tell you everything going on in the locker room. They will not. So I will walk back my earlier post about my "you problem" post about Covey from a few minutes ago. So I got lucky in the timing of that. That's twice in the last week. This story and then the whole situation with Diana Rossini put that tweet out a little bit prematurely, and she had to walk it back. But this is a prime example. What I couldn't put in the tweet because I ran out of room. I was like, I should have followed my own advice. Let the cake cook for a little bit, and you see what happened. But the story about what Covey possibly said came out last night. So a lot of people had put out comments and recorded things last night. And it's like, you know what? When a situation like this happens, you got to let it breathe. And the best thing about what Britton Covey said, the comment was excellent. He put it perfect, made it plain. There was no fat on that comment. Ain't nothing to trim out. Ain't no reason to read between the lines or nothing. And the most important thing, he put his name on it. It wasn't a source. It wasn't per sources, somebody close to the locker room, a friend of a friend. It wasn't none of that. He put his name on it. And I've been asking this question for a long time. When all of these reporters put these stories out, who is source? That dude source gets around a lot. He's always close to a situation. He's always close to the locker room, and he's always close to a player, but you never know who source is. So you got to be careful. A lot of times, sometimes players will talk to the press, but players, and I keep repeating myself, players are not going to tell the press everything. They are not going to do it. So what happens is they will take whatever little nuggets they get and they run with it. And then they got to formulate their own plan and fill in the gaps as best they can. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But in a rush to be first, there's always an issue. Definitely sounds like a private conversation that somebody jumped the gun. I agree with you 100%. 100%. But the first thing I thought of yesterday when I started hearing this is the first thing I thought of, because if anybody watched Big Seal's show on Jacob Media, you heard what he said about it. And it's like jumping the gun a little bit. So the first thing I thought of was if Britton Covey was giving out this information to a reporter, people are going to look at him like he's a snitch in the locker room. And that's a problem. Because once something like that happens, the trust in that particular player is gone. Now, they'll fake it. They'll make it look good. But the trust in that player is gone. If you got a problem in the locker room, you handle it in the locker room. It ain't no different than when you dealing with somebody in your family. You better handle it in-house. So just from that aspect of it, I was like, that's a little bit suspect. And then, of course, everybody took that attitude and they flipped it. So if, you know what, I'm not even gonna get into that because the Covey came out and said that that's not true. I'm not putting that out there. Like, I don't know where you're getting that from. So that goes back to the articles and all the kind of stuff. The article that came out, Joe, what's his last name? Jalaquito. The dude wrote an article, Bleeding Green, talking about the whole year. And again, he's quoting a lot of sources. And not for nothing, man. If there's some young fellas out there in the league right now that some way, shape, or form happen to see this stream, this podcast, right? You got to be careful who you talking to outside of that locker room, because everybody's not your friend. Then people have a job to do, because ultimately, if they're not getting these stories, their ass might be on the line. So sometimes they'll go above and beyond to try to get a story to drum up some interest, whatever the case is, to get you to watch. So if you're a young player out there, if you in college now, about to go to the league, about to go through the combine situation, possibly get drafted, be careful who you talk to. Be careful who you talk to. Look at what they did with was it CJ Stroud, when all of the questions was going on about him after he took the test and didn't do good on the Wonderlic test, and I believe that was all of that kind of stuff about he didn't test well. And then I think it was about CJ, and I think it was something with a couple of the former players that were announcers, and somebody said something that they shouldn't have said, and it got all blown out of proportion. But at the end of the day, it's somebody making up stuff and they don't know what the situation is. They have zero context. And that's the problem with a lot of these reporters, especially if they take something from a 10-second soundbite that they got in the locker room or somebody was on the way out, different things like that. So why do you think that a lot of times, if you were to walk up to somebody in public, one of these elite level stars in public, I'll call them A-list athletes, why do you think that a lot of times they don't want to deal with you? Because now you look at this situation and you got AI voiceover, and you got I'm a Photoshop expert. I know what I'm doing with Photoshop. So yes, I can take a picture and take somebody out of it or put somebody in. I know how to do that. I did that for a friend of mine years ago. One of my friends that I used to work with, she did not like her daughter's boyfriend. So she brought me her daughter's prom pictures and asked me to remove the boyfriend. And when I was done, it looked like he was never even there. So I know what you can do with stuff like that. So you have to be very, very careful these days when you are a A-list athlete. And everything they do, somebody's going to try to film you, put a spin on it so they can get some of that clickbait. And they can try to maximize their reach for a minute. Because instant information gets you paid these days. I didn't say correct information. So that's a very, very interesting situation right now with Britton Covey and how things are going on. They're going to have their 2:30 press conference with Sirianni and Howie Roseman. I'm not sure if Jeffrey Lurie's going to be there. I doubt it. But it wouldn't surprise me, because we got a lot of stuff, a lot of questions going on. A lot of questions. So I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they haven't kind of put themselves in the corner when it comes to these coaches, because everybody's looking at this situation. Everybody's looking at this situation. Now, one of the conclusions you can come up with is that things are stalling because perhaps they have to wait until the Super Bowl is over with. Meaning they might be trying to go after somebody on a Super Bowl roster, because we at the Final Four this weekend. So the possibility does exist that they are pursuing one of these coaches that's on one of these teams. I'm sure somebody down at NovaCare is going to ask those questions at 2:30. Probably not going to start right at 2:30, but you know how it is. So they're going to be some very pointed, uncomfortable questions, I would think, at this press conference. Because I never would have thought a month and a half ago that Sirianni would be in this situation after everything we did, even after the way with the slide. But I said it before. It's not that we lose, it's how we lose. So, hella broken. I believe Covey is going to be a good player. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. My thing with Covey is last year I called him Crash Test Covey, because he seemed like he was just moving so fast that he couldn't get out of his own way. He was moving too fast to set himself up for cuts and breaks, to just set up his blockers. So I always say he looked like a crash test dummy going into a wall. This year, though, he made strides, big strides. So I had a I had a stream where I officially buried the crash test moniker. He is now Britton Covey because he earned it. And he was one of the top returners this year. I don't know why they don't use him at a slot, very similar to what they do with Kevontae Turpin. Now, obviously, he's not as fast as Kevontae Turpin, but the kid is fast. Yeah, hella broken. I agree 100%. He does look good. He does look good. So we'll see what they do next year. That's one of my big issues with what we didn't do with the Eagles. I still don't believe that they used the personnel to its strength. We wasted Rashad Penny for a year. I feel bad for him. As a running back, as a former NFL running back, I feel bad for Rashad Penny. You wasted a good year of his career. I know he was coming off injury, but best believe he worked his ass off to get over that hump. And to think he was going to have an opportunity. That sucks, man. You cannot get that time back. So we don't, for whatever reason, we don't use our athletes in the right way, I don't believe. DeAndre Swift showed up, and game one, he showed out. And immediately, we knew we had something. We got the right kid. He's coming home to Philly. All of that. And every opportunity he got on the field, he made the most of it. And then what do? We talked all of that trash about now we got a dual threat. We got somebody we can throw the ball to. We got mismatches we can take advantage of, because now we got a true receiver, a true weapon at running back that we can, linebackers can't cover, and we didn't even use them. We went through all of that. I mean, technically, we had that last year with Gainwell, but they just didn't do it. You already know how I feel about Gainwell. If DeAndre Swift never would have came to Philly, I'd have been totally comfortable with Gainwell being our running back number one. And then I see, stuff talking about King Henry and Saquon Barkley. I'm hearing all of this crazy stuff because people just ain't got nothing better to do. But the bottom line is, if we did get those great running backs, would we even use them correctly? That's the big thing now on the offensive coordinator who we decide to hire. Is it going to be somebody that's going to run Sirianni's scheme, or is it going to be somebody that's going to do their old thing? Because I think we need a old school, not even old school, man. We need somebody with enough cachet that can shut Sirianni down. I'm not sure if I want to use that. I wish I could find a better phrase for that, but they gotta command enough respect where Sirianni is going to leave him alone. It's got to be somebody that says, "Hey, I understand what you're trying to do, but my way is better, and I can prove it." That's what we need, because it is going to be very interesting, and this is going to be something that I know we're not going to be able to figure out until next season, later in next season, because it's all going to depend on where Brian Johnson ends up. So, is he going to be an OC somewhere else? He's not going to be a head coach, I don't think. But he could pop up as an OC somewhere else, because I want to see what Brian Johnson does without any restraints. So we can figure out, was this a Brian Johnson problem or was this a Nick Sirianni problem? Everybody loses their stuff because they said there was a lot of people in the building that were not happy when Brian Johnson got fired. Okay. How many work environments have you been in where when somebody that you like gets fired, it's happy? It's not supposed to be. So that means nothing to me. It ain't supposed to be a good time. NovaCare Complex, the Philadelphia Eagles, are still a very good organization. The people still like and love each other inside that building. So when something happened and somebody leaves, with whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, a lot of people are going to feel bad, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that really, really like Brian Johnson. So that doesn't surprise me. And it's going to be like that in any given situation. Yo, I agree with you. You can't keep running Sirianni schemes. But he's going to have to change something up. And that's why this year, more than any other year, think about it. We already know now. We haven't even hired new coordinators yet, but we already know now Nick Sirianni is coaching for his job next year. So his future with the Philadelphia Eagles is dependent upon who he hires. So my question is this. Is he going to go out swinging his way? Or is he going to leave it in somebody else's hands? Because that's a very difficult thing to do. Because if I'm looking at a situation and my butt is on the line and I'm confident that my way is best, I'm going to go down doing it my way. Now, it's a whole different situation if your boss says, let him do it. Do it this way, not your way. Now, when you're taking direction from somebody else, that's a different scenario. Now, this goes to Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. So whoever they bring into camp, whoever's going to be on his team as offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, specifically on offense, are you going to let them do their own thing, or are they going to be beholden to whatever it is, whatever that scheme is Sirianni's trying to run? That doesn't work. Now, I know he said that it's the same scheme that Frank Reich was running, but okay, it ain't working. How come the car had gas in it when I drove it? Now you driving it don't work right. What happened? So he's under the gun from day one. Hella broken. They are not going to answer all of the questions in this press conference. I agree. But we're going to learn something today. You're going to learn today. So just been a lot of hoopla, people trying to jump the gun on social media. Just like my twin sister always says, you're doing too much. So you never know what's really going to happen. So you're doing too much. And that's what it seems like today. You got too many people saying too many things and can't nobody verify anything. Nobody is vetting nothing. That's what we lose with the social media. Nobody is vetting any of this information whatsoever. They get the story, it looks hot, and they just roll with it. Let me be the first to put something out. So I'm very, very thankful that I was able to, when I posted what I posted this morning, then I saw his response and I was like, hold on. So, but I know others didn't have that opportunity. So we'll see how this is going to end up. There should be a lot of pointed questions in this press conference. I'm very curious as if Sirianni and Roseman are going to try to steer it, or are they going to just let it fly? Yeah, hella broken. Frank did make adjustments, and not for nothing, so did Sean Desai. So did Sean Desai. So the first problem is when they brought in Matt Patricia. That was a red flag right there. Shouldn't have happened. If you're gonna hire me, hire me. Let me fail on my own merit. If you see by me doing what I'm doing, I'm not getting it done, okay? Because guess what? There's been situations where, I mean, heck, it happened. This is the third. So Matt Canada got fired. The dude from Buffalo got fired, and then Sean Desai got fired. And I think maybe I might be missing one or two more coordinators that got fired in season. So I don't know if it was, something in the water. I don't know. But all I know is Sean Desai, he did all right against Miami. He did all right against the Rams. He did all right against Kansas City. And yes, you can throw in that. Every time I mention Kansas City, it was like, well, if Kansas City could drop the ball, well, yeah, that's absolutely right. But the luck goes on both sides. Kansas City got lucky too. But all I know is we pretty much handled our business on the defense. So there were some situations where the defense did hold up their end of the bargain and the offense couldn't get it together. So there's enough blame to go around. So I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know what people's thoughts were. I know it's very easy to say that a lot of people didn't agree with what happened. And like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, that is always going to be the case. If you work anywhere and you have any relationships with your coworkers, if something happens and somebody's gone for whatever reason, there is a sadness there. So that part I understand, but that's the nature of this business. More so in professional sports than anything else. So it is not something that's uncommon. So whether you like it or not, at least you're used to it. So people can say what they want to say, and I'm interested to see how this goes forward after this press conference. I want to see what gets written after that, because now you can't make it up. You can watch the press conference for yourself, and you can question some of these people. Well, that's what you took from it? I took something totally different. So it's very interesting situation, and the mix of traditional press, traditional media, and social media right now, that mix is not looking good. Hella broken. How do I feel about Riverboat Ron? At first, I did not want to see Ron Rivera here at all. Was not happy with it. I didn't like the rumor. I was like, no. However, while he still would be my first choice, I think it would be a much better improvement than what we currently have. That's not hard to beat. But what I'm saying is, I was one of the ones that got kind of confused looking at the record the last couple of years. Ron Rivera was not the defensive coordinator. That was Jack Del Rio. So that's Del Rio's fingerprints. Now, if you want to go back 10 years ago, when the last time he was a DC and he had a pretty good defense going together, okay, but that's a long time ago. Can he bring that gravitas back in today's NFL? It's difference. It's a difference between being a head coach and a coordinator. It's one thing to be focused and another thing to be a CEO. Two different skill sets. Some people can do it well. Some people can't. Look at Nick Sirianni. He gave up play calling because he couldn't do both. And you can say what you want. And it's just now coming to the point where Big Red is getting back up to speed. You can't tell me he didn't lose a little bit with Eric Bieniemy being gone. Because Eric Bieniemy, whether people want to believe it or not, was a huge help to Andy Reid. Now he's gotten his legs and gotten back where he was supposed to be. Some people want to call it lucky. You can call it whatever you want to, but he is. He playing for the right to go to the Super Bowl again. I don't no. No, you missed the beginning of this. You got to check out the stream, the beginning of the stream later. A lot of the stuff people take. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. Imagine if you are on your job and all of the people that you know on your job, you know people on your job, and then you have coworkers. You don't sit together at lunch. You really don't talk to each other. You see them walking through the warehouse or through the office. You might give them a wave, and that's about as far as it goes. So you don't have a relationship with everybody at your job. So just imagine one of those people that you don't have a relationship with see something and then they run with it. I've had that happen to me before. I've had somebody hear 3 seconds of a conversation and they ran back and told one of the managers when I used to work at Apple. And they came and asked me, like, what's this I don't hear about you? And I was like, who told you that? And that is not what I said. So I had to explain the whole situation. And my point in this whole story is that people will take a little bit and they will run with it because they don't have context or the whole story. That is what I believe is what's happening with Jalen Hurts. And when you see the situation with Britton Covey, that should let you know that a lot of these people that are writing about Jalen Hurts don't know nothing about him. So they got to make it up. They got to come up with something. And it's a vicious loop because Jalen is not somebody that likes to talk to the media. James Monsanto, what's going on, bro? He is not somebody that likes to talk to the media a lot. He does what he's supposed to do, period. And when people want to push that boundary and he doesn't take the bait, people get upset. And then they are out the other. He didn't back Nick Sirianni. Well, yes, he did. He did back Sirianni. What he didn't do was give you the response that you were hoping for. And then what is the first thing that everybody does? Well, did you hear what Dak Prescott said? Or did you hear what Fletcher Cox said? That's well, when you ask that person and they give you that answer, that's coming from that person. Personality and everything all mixed in. So when you ask Jalen the question, expect it to be answered how Jalen would answer a question, not how Fletcher Cox would, not how Dak Prescott would, not how AJ Brown would. And now we knock people that don't give us the answer we want. If Jalen Hurts came out tomorrow and all of a sudden he had this rah-rah attitude, we would know he was fake and we would hate him for it. So it can't be both ways. So I know Ron Rivera is a Jim Johnson disciple, and a lot of people in Philly would be happy about that, but I don't know. But after everything that's done transpired for the last couple of days, I would be a lot happier with an old school coach than a new coach. Because I want an old school coach because I need somebody that's earned enough respect and experience to be able to stand toe to toe with Sirianni because he's the head coach and be able to let him know, like, hey, I've been through. You need to listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. That's what it seems like we need. Brian Johnson couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. So, obviously, we're not going to have any answers today. The only thing that I could possibly think that maybe if there was going to be a hire today at this press conference, the only person I could see them hiring would be Frank Reich. Because they've already talked to him, had conversations in that whole situation. So if they were going to announce something like that and really give a middle finger to the press because they didn't know, it would be Frank Reich. Because all we know is they've had conversations. And Frank Reich was part of the triumvirate to try to find new coaches. So that's the only thing we could get out of that. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. A lot of good questions are going to be asked today. So we'll see. Old school coaches are your aggressive guys. Reblankship needs an old school coach. Kids physical. Yeah. I just think the young coaches are good too. Don't get me wrong, because young coaches can relate to what a lot of these young kids are doing, and sometimes old school coaches can't. Or the old school train of thought might have timed out, and it's time to get new, like a new way to do things. So there's pluses and minuses in each situation. My opinion for the old school coaches is because of what I saw last season on offense. So if we get a younger coach on defense, well, you might as well say it both, because we had a relatively young coach on defense and it got screwed up. You didn't let him do what he had to do, and not for nothing, you just gonna discount all the injuries we had and the turnover we had at linebacker. All of that stuff don't matter. And we got to 10-1. And there was a game, there was something that you saw that just didn't resonate with you at all. Now, the only thing I will give, because he's the defensive coordinator, the only thing I can give Desai some crap about is that we couldn't tackle. But is your head coach letting you hit and tackle and really get it going in practice? Because you play how you practice. And clearly, the Eagles did not practice tackling. When I get done with this video, go on my channel, look at the video I did about the Eagles tackling. It was god awful. God awful. And as somebody that was a teammate of, Seth and Clyde and Byron Evans and Andre Waters and Wes Hopkins, Eric Allen. Those were my teammates. William Thomas, Willie T. Those boys would come up and pop you. And to come from that and to see what we are doing today, even go way past me. You can go Hollis Thomas. You can go Brian Dawkins. You can go Jeremiah Trotter. You can go D'Amico Ryan. wherever you want to go. Them dudes know how to tackle. So I don't know what the hell happened this year, but they were tackling like a 18 little league. Like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And it was embarrassing. Never thought I would say Philadelphia Eagles defense was embarrassing. CJGJ is not coming back. Point period in the paragraph. Ain't no way. I think his agent blew that for him. But you know what? Stranger things have happened. I don't see it. I don't think it would happen, but stranger things have happened. So, but listen, man, I'm gonna cut this off right here. Got a little bit of time to go wash your hands, get ready to clock back in from lunch, man. I appreciate you joining me. This is fun. I'm gonna try to do this at least 2 to 3 times a week. It'll be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live at lunch, and I'm having fun. So, have any ideas? Hit me up. You can catch me up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow. My goal is to get 2,000 subscribers before the Super Bowl. Let's see if we can make it happen. But I'm going to be out. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm going to be back sometime later on tonight to talk about all of the press conference stuff. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Rational Thug. I love that screen name, bro. Talk to y'all later. Peace.